As you can see based on the title of this message, it is about women in ministry. There are a lot of debates out there regarding if women can serve in certain capacities in ministry. This is probably going to be a little bit different because I've never really heard the topic discussed like this. The last two times I went to Jamaica in the last several years, I had an encounter with a pastor, a woman. The first time was at a wedding, and she was the officiant. And all the signs point to God having brought the man and woman together in holy matrimony. And also that he chose her as the officiant. And by the way, the Lord gave me a message to give to her for her church. The second time around was for a funeral. And based on my observation, I didn't see any men in any significant leadership role in the church. And then something happened to me that I won't speak about. And I realized that sometimes people are debating if women can serve in certain capacities. And maybe the question is, how many men have not fulfilled their calling? How many men have the Lord called, but they refused to comply? And it's not to say that the Lord would choose a woman because a man refused a position. Not necessarily. As I like to say, everything's on a case-by-case basis. So sometimes while people are debating if women can serve in certain capacities, could one of the underlying issues be that some men have rejected the Lord's calling? And yes, it can happen. I remember having a strong feeling, and yes, it was a feeling, about a man. And I asked him personally, did the Lord ever call you to serve him? He said no. But I have my doubts. Because even in the Bible, there are some people who the Lord called and they refused the calling. Or sometimes they messed it up. So there are times when a woman may be serving in a position and people are debating, are saying she should not be in a position. When it's possible that there's a man who could have been in a position and the Lord has positioned that woman as an indictment against that man or even other men for not stepping up to do what he wants them to do. And that may sound petty to you. Why would God put someone in a position to show others basically what they're missing out on? Well, let's go through some scriptures. Because when the Lord calls people, it is a choice. They can refuse. When the Lord sent Moses to confront Pharaoh, it was a choice. Let the children of Israel go or fight against God. The Pharaoh chose the latter. It was a choice. When the Lord confronted King Abimelech of Gerar in Genesis 20, he gave him a choice. Return the man's wife, Sarah, because her husband is a prophet, and some other things. And the Lord gave him a choice. Return her or die. So an example of someone's calling is in Isaiah 6, when the Lord called the prophet Isaiah to serve him. And I'll read verses 1 through 13. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Quick sidebar. Sometimes people say, oh, if you have an heavenly encounter, you can't share it. Because in 2 Corinthians 12, the Apostle Paul wrote about a man who was taken up into heaven and he saw things that are not lawful to utter. So if a person sees or has some kind of heavenly encounter and they speak about it, then it's unscriptural. 1 Kings 22, Micaiah spoke about seeing into heaven, the Lord sitting on his throne, having counselors, if you will, asking, who will go and deceive Ahab? So he saw into heaven. Stephen, when he was getting stoned to death, he saw into heaven Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father. So here it is, Isaiah describing what he saw in heaven. I continue. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. And twain covered his face, and twain covered his feet, and with twain did he fly. And one cried unto another, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? The Lord was seeking a volunteer. Then said I, Here am I, send me. So the prophet Isaiah was willing to go, do what the Lord said. In all walks of life, ministry, Christianity, and in secular society, there are things that some men could have done, but because they didn't do it, women stepped up to the plate. Even in parenting, sometimes a man leaves a woman. She could be pregnant or she's had a child, and the man stays out of her life. And I know it's a complex situation, but the man stays out of her life, and also the life of the child or the children. Mother's Day is coming up based on today's recording. And some women, when Father's Day comes around, some people even tell them Happy Father's Day because they're playing both roles. So sometimes when a man does not do what he should be doing, a woman will step up. Sometimes a man is not willing to fulfill the responsibilities of what our Lord is calling him to do. And the Lord seeks a willing vessel. And just maybe, some women are in ministerial positions because they're willing to say, Here I am, send me. I continue. And he said, Go and tell this people. You may be saying, but this is happening between a man and God. Again, some men have refused to do what the Lord has called them to do. Even Lord Jesus Christ said, Many are called, but few are chosen. And he said, Go and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. And the Lord have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten, as a teil tree, as an oak, whose substance is in them, when they cast their leaves. So the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. So in this case, Isaiah said, "Here am I, send me." Some men have rejected the Lord's calling. So when you see a woman in a certain position, maybe rather than saying a woman should not be serving in a position, maybe you should wonder, is there a man who should have been serving in a position, but he refused it, so the Lord gave it to someone else? Another example of a great man, but when he was called, he was reluctant to fulfill his calling. Yes, he eventually submitted to the Lord's will, but it shows how people can reject the Lord's calling, and there's a consequence for it. Now, there are some people, whether a man or woman, the Lord calls them, either they reject the calling or they mess it up, and then the Lord just stops using them. In 1 Samuel 28, when King Saul had been rebellious, the Lord stopped speaking with him, whether via dreams, whether the Urim or via prophets. The Lord went silent. So that can happen to someone who's not doing what the Lord has called him to do. So with Moses, in Exodus 4, verses 10 through 24, "And Moses said unto the Lord, O Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech, and of a slow tongue." Now I know when the Lord called me to serve him, initially I heard, "Minister to the people." And I thought it was a human being around who had said it to me for about in the dark. I looked around, I saw no one. Took about 2 or 3 more steps, heard the same thing again, and then I realized it was the Lord. But I thought he had made a mistake. I thought maybe he overlooked my track record, which in a lot of ways he did. And he made a mistake by trying to call me. I took about 2 or 3 more steps. I heard the same thing again. And I knew the Lord hadn't made a mistake. And I knew that if I were to take another step, things would not go well for me. The Lord can give us grace. He can also remove his grace. And there are people, they walked away from the Lord. And for some of them, the Lord called them, they refused the calling. And it seemed as if they had the best life, they're successful in what they did in terms of obtaining financial resources. But how are things going to go for them when they have to appear before the Lord Jesus Christ to give an account of themselves? How easy is it for the Lord to say, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? So Moses was giving these excuses. And there are a lot of people, especially men, who have given excuses regarding why they can't do certain things to fulfill their calling for the Lord. But there are women out there who are willing to do what men are not willing to do. I continue. Oh, and by the way, again, because of men's unwillingness is not the only reason why the Lord will put women in certain positions. But there are times when that is the case. So this for your prayerful consideration. I continue. "And the Lord said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, the hand of him who thou wilt send." That is a problem. Moses was telling the Lord, send someone else. Many people have experienced this. The Lord called them, and they rejected the calling. And again, for some, whatsoever they decided to do in lieu of God's will for their life, they're having all kind of earthly success. but they too will have to give an account of the Lord for the life that he granted them. So Moses was telling the Lord, oh, please send someone else. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. The Lord did not take this well. He chose Moses, and now Moses was rejecting him. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses, and he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well, and also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee, and when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart. And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth. And I'll be with thy mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And he shall be thy spokesperson unto the people. And he shall be, even he shall be instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be to him instead of God. So the Lord's He's gonna find a way to overcome any impediment Moses had. And thou shalt make or take this rod in thine hand, wherewith thou shalt do signs. And Moses went and returned to Jethro his father-in-law, and said unto him, let me go, I pray thee, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they yet be alive. And Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. And Moses took his wife and his sons, and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all these wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto thee, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if thou refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay thy son, even thy firstborn. So everything seems fine. Moses initially was telling the Lord, oh, choose someone else. Then Moses decided he's going to serve the Lord. The Lord's going to use Aaron as his ministry partner. And in Exodus 7, the Lord told Moses, see, I've made you like a god unto Pharaoh, and Aaron is your prophet. So things are going to go well. It seemed as if Moses was on the Lord's good side, if you will. I know the Lord is good, but it seemed as if the Lord's anger had subsided. But in verse 24, and it came to pass by the way in the inn that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. This was after Moses told the Lord to send someone else. And either the Lord told him to go to Egypt and to give a message to Pharaoh, the Lord's going to kill him. What is the natural consequence if the Lord had killed Moses? He would have chosen someone else. He would have chosen someone else. Throughout history, how many times did the Lord have to choose someone else because of someone's non-compliance? So again, a lot of times people see women in certain positions and they're saying a woman should not be in a position. Have you considered that just maybe a part of the problem, if you want to call it that, is that some men have not done what the Lord has called them to do? Now, Moses' wife, Zipporah, took some action and the Lord relented. That's why Moses continued with his ministry. But the Lord is going to kill him because he wouldn't do what the Lord called him to do. So to Isaiah, you hear the prophet saying, here am I, send me. But Moses initially, he was saying send someone else. And the Lord was going to send someone else. It could have been Aaron. It could have been someone else. The Lord could have even used Miriam Aaron and Moses' older sister. When someone doesn't do what the Lord has commanded them to do, then the Lord may very well just choose someone else. Everyone doesn't get an opportunity like Jonah. Jonah cried out from the pits of hell, interceded to the Lord, and the Lord had mercy upon him and told him to do what he had commanded him to do in the first place. Jonah could have been removed from commission, and the Lord could have sent someone else. When this revelation initially came to me, I'm like, but Lord, basically, where in your word does it speak about you, for example, putting someone in a position to see what they could have had if they'd only obey you? One of the first things that came up, 2 Kings 7. 2 Kings 7. And I'll read the entire chapter. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, Tomorrow, about this time, shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, in the gate of Samaria. Then a Lord, on whose hand the king leaned, answered the man of God, and said, Behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? Also, we have a doubter. But Numbers 11, when people were doubting if the Lord could bring the meat into the camp as he had spoken to Moses about, one of the questions for the Lord asked was, is the Lord's arms too short? Nowadays we know all things are possible through Christ Jesus. So they're saying, it's like even God couldn't do this. That's what it translates to. Continuing, and he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not eat thereof. So he's going to see it, but not participate in it. So for the argument about women being in certain ministerial positions, how many men are looking at those women and they're getting pricked in their hearts, knowing that if they had obeyed the Lord, it could have been them. And not necessarily the Lord gave their position to that woman. But how many men are looking at women in certain positions, knowing that the woman said yes to the Lord while they said no, while they said choose someone else? So yes, there are times when our Lord will have people look at things but not partake of it. And having a look brings conviction. Peter told the Lord that he was willing to die with him. The Lord told him that he was going to deny him 3 times before the cock crowed twice. In the Gospel according to Luke, Peter denied the Lord 3 times. The rooster crowed. And Jesus looked at him. He said their eyes met. And then Peter walked away weeping. He had been convicted. He had been convicted. So this man was going to see but not partake. So there's some men who should be in pulpits, but instead they're in pews. And the woman is the shepherd. Well, nothing, because this stuff came to me early in the morning, and now it's around 7 p.m. Another thing the Lord reminded me of. David spoke about the Lord as my shepherd. Jesus, he is the good shepherd. David was a shepherd. Moses was a shepherd. But guess what? when Moses met his wife Zipporah, she would be called a shepherdess. So she was shepherding livestock. But when Jacob met Rachel, she was shepherding. So shepherding wasn't limited to men. Women also shepherded. So again he said, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not eat thereof. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate. Correction, and there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate. And they said one to another, why sit here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit here, we die also. Now therefore, come, let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. And they rose up in the twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the outermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, and even the noise of a great host. And they said to another, lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Oh boy, the Lord knows how to make the enemy flee. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it. And came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it. Then they said to one another, we do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the port of the city, and they told them, saying, we came to the camp of the Syrians, and, behold, there was no man there, neither voice of a man, but horses tied, and asses tied, and the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night, and said unto his servants, I will not shew you what the Syrians I will now shew you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry. Therefore they are gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, when the day of this, oh boy, when they come out to the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. So the Lord had brought a deliverance by his mighty hand. And here we have the king doubting. What does Scripture say? That without faith is it impossible to please God, and that he's a rewarder for those who diligently seek him. So we see a lack of faith. And one of his servants answered and said, let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, go and see. And they went up after them unto Jordan. And lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. So what Elisha said, the word of the Lord, we see a partial fulfillment of it. The price of these agricultural items. But he also said something else. And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate. And the people trode him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spoke when the king came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God and said, Now behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, shall such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not eat thereof. He saw it, but couldn't go any further. Would the Lord position a person to see what they could have had, what they should have done, but it's too late for them to do it? And so it fell out unto him, for the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. He saw it, but couldn't partake of it. So is it possible that some women are in ministerial positions as an indictment against the men who didn't say to the Lord, Here am I, send me? An indictment against those who said, Oh, choose someone else. I spoke about Moses earlier. Yes, Moses served the Lord faithfully. He was a humble man, did many wonderful works for the Lord. But he was also in a position at the end of his ministry that he was able to see into the promised land. And even though he sought the Lord, beseeched him to let him in, the Lord wouldn't. Moses could only look into the promised land. He saw it, but could not enter. And another example, the Lord chose King Saul because in 1 Samuel 8, the Israelites wanted a king to rule over them so they could be like other nations. And even though the Lord warned them through Samuel the seer, they wanted a king, the Lord gave them one. Saul. Saul started off right, but he ended up wrong. Now Moses was not allowed into the promised land, but he was still in right standing with the Lord. Saul, different story. And in 1 Samuel 15, verses 26 through 29, it reads, And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. He rejected it. And then get this part right here. And the Lord hath rejected thee from being king over Israel. So those who rejected the word of the Lord, he may reject them in return. Continuing. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent. And Samuel said unto him, The Lord had rent or torn the kingdom of Israel from this day, and hath given it to a neighbor of thine that is better than thou. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. So the Lord had Samuel tell King Saul, the Lord was going to give the kingdom of Israel to someone better than him. Later on, King Saul witnessed this man, someone better than him, David. He even tried to stop David from fulfilling that destiny. Saul was not faithful to the Lord, so the Lord sought someone else. Now King Saul never saw David become king. He perished before it happened. Well, he knew David was going to become king. He knew it. But for him, it was too late. He rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord rejected him. So saying no to the Lord, it has consequences. How many men have said no to the Lord, while the woman said yes? Here am I, send me. And there are times, because people, and especially in this case men, rejected the Lord, it put him in a position to choose another. And in Matthew 3, 7 through 9, these words from John the Baptist. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who warned you to flee the wrath to come, bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance. And think not to say within yourselves, We have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. If God is able to raise up children of Abraham out of stones, is it possible he will raise up women to do what men have refused to do? And again, this is not the only reason why the Lord have raised up women in certain positions. But is it possible that there are times he raised up women in certain positions because men have refused the Lord's calling? I submit all this to you for your prayerful consideration. God bless you, and Jesus the Christ is Lord.